3, 2, 1.
You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Real Pineapple. This is your humble host Hunter here. Hope you guys are having a great week so far. So, I've got two reviews. This is essentially part one of two of a review, because I'm reviewing Dead to Me Season 1. I was going to review Season 1 and 2 together, but I realized that'd probably be an hour podcast, so I figure I'll go ahead and split them up into two seasons, or two separate recordings, so that each season gets the deep dive that I feel it deserves. Because, so with the whole pandemic and us quarantining, there have been a couple positives. I've been able to work from home, which I'm very blessed to be able to say. I've been able to play with my cat. In case you guys don't know, my cat's name is Samuel L. Katzen. He's a very regal, wonderful boy. And I've been able to be quarantined with my amazing girlfriend. So I've been very blessed. And my very snarky roommate. I've been very blessed to have them around and Mr. Katzen around. So Dead to Me has been on my list. I realized too, by the way, I don't know if this applies to anyone else, I need to go through my Amazon, my list, or my Netflix, my list, and just delete shit that I know I'm never going to watch. Because I was going through my list, I went, there's a lot of stuff I've probably watched already that I just haven't, that I need to get rid of. But this has been on my list for a while, and the plot is pretty simple. Christina Applegate, who of course you know from Married with Children. So I've had a crush on Christina Applegate for years. I think she is incredibly charming. I think she's very underrated as Veronica Corningstone in Anchorman, and even Anchorman 2, which is dog shit, but she's actually really good in it. I like that show. She had Samantha Who. I actually really dug that show. Of course, I'm going to go ahead and talk about Married with Children, as I mentioned. But she also did the show Jessie, which I think people forget about, that I really enjoyed, actually. And that's not even before I get to Bad Moms and Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. Linda Cardellini, Mrs. Hawkeye herself. So I always have to remind people she was Velma in Scooby-Doo. A very hot Velma in Scooby-Doo, might I add. But she was just in, Best Picture winner Green Book. She, of course, she was in Daddy's Home. That's right. She was on Mad Men multiple times, and she was actually really good on there. She played Jess's sister, Abby, on New Girl, which was a really great role for her too. I forgot she was on ER. I totally forgot about ER. How the hell did I forget about that? And of course, the first thing I saw her in was Freaks and Geeks. I've had genuine admiration for Linda Cardellini, not outside of my crush, of course, but I find it really impressive that she's able to go through all these different roles and be such a chameleon and be better than I think a lot of people say. As far as just being a character actor, I think she transcends that. I think she's absolutely incredible, and it kind of trips me out that more people don't give her the credit that I really think she deserves. And I'm a huge fan of Grandma's Boy. I don't care what anyone says, that movie's fucking great. But all that to say, so Christina Applegate plays Jen, whose husband just got killed in a hit and run. And they do a great job of going ahead and, obviously, her losing her husband is fucking terrible, but going ahead and really depicting Jen's grief. I think that's the thing I admire the most about season 1 of this show, is that where a lot of other movies or shows would try to go ahead and give you maybe not a fully informed answer on how to move on when you lose someone, this show is very realistic in the sense that it doesn't really give you an answer. It just lets you know that it's not something you ever really get over. It's something you try to accept. And I think that message is really key. and really keeps the show from falling apart. As far as its core concept. But Jen, she's struggling. She has 2 kids, one played by Sam McCarthy, who plays Charlie Harding, and then Luke Rosler is what I'm going to go with, who plays Henry. I haven't seen either one of these actors before, but I think they are both fucking excellent. I really like both. I really like them both quite a bit. So this is where I'm gonna drop the whole white parents thing, because Charlie does some shit that if a black kid did this, oh my god! Like, if I did half the shit Charlie did when I was a kid, my mom, I'd be under the house right now because of how shitty Charlie and Henry get. But I'll get there. But Jen's really just trying to keep it together. She ends up going to this grief counseling group. It's called something about faith. Friends of Heaven. That's what it's called. And it's ran by Pastor Wayne. I don't have the actor's name here, but I really liked him. He was Keong Sim is what I'm gonna go with. He was absolutely wonderful, and he's very much that kind of that Zen master type of pastor. He talks about how the reason he's in the group, besides just leading it, is that he asked, I believe, his aunt to go ahead and get him a soda, and she fell down a flight of stairs and cracked her head, and I was like, oh my god. And he's just very calm while he's saying it. You can tell that he has put this behind him, he's accepted it. So what I find so interesting, and again, there's so much to talk about on the show, I love that Pastor Wayne is as calm as he is. He's clearly done this before. This is not his first rodeo, as it were. But Jen wants to get to where Pastor Wayne is. And I found their relationship in particular really fascinating. I want to say it's episode 5, where the group kind of goes on this retreat out of town. And Jen, she's shit talking Pastor Wayne pretty much until that episode. Like every episode, she seems to get some sort of dig in on him, and you're kind of like, damn, like ease up. He's trying to help. But I love their relationship, because she is coming across as someone who's not is just grieving, but is in a way jealous that he has this acceptance. And Jen even talks about how, seeing her kids, it's kind of draining, because I mean they're struggling with their own grief, but that they keep asking about Ted, and they keep bringing him up, and so she can't move past her grief, and she feels like she's responsible for her kids' grief. And then she's talking to someone who's so positive, and that as much shit as she talks about him, he won't break. And I give him so much credit, because there is a scene where she's just talking about him being like kind of fluffy and trying to just like tell everyone express their feelings, and she's being really mean about it. And he basically goes like, look, I've been doing this a while. That's what makes me qualified. It's a very not ownage moment, but it's still not letting her get away with shit, which I really do appreciate. The thing, and I always talk to you guys about this. I always, if you're a first time listener, welcome. But I always promise you guys on the podcast, I'd always keep it real with you guys. And this is being recorded on the 13th, so you'll hear it on the 14th earliest. But it's been just been a couple days since the remembrance. It will have been 20 years since I lost my dad. And I will say for myself, I'm very grateful for the time I have with my dad. I'm so happy my mom remarried such an amazing person. I call Byron my dad. I don't call him Byron. I call him my dad, because he helped just as much with my dad Ken as anyone. So he's earned that. He's definitely earned that respect and that title. I always said I'd keep it real with you guys, and the thing I love about this show is that it shows grief manifest in multiple different ways. Jin really folds up into herself to the point where she is being, and this is fucked to say, but it's true, she is being a bad mom. She's not realizing what her kids are doing. There's a point where you find out that Charlie is selling drugs, Ted's old drugs that he just took from the not the filing cabinet. That'd be a weird place to keep them, but but from the medicine cabinet, and how he's selling them at the school. It's a really it's a really like, oh damn, okay, sort of moment when you realize it. And then Henry, it seems like he's very much like Jin, because he has it seems like he has an anger problem. I believe he's like 11, like 10, 11, and he freaks out on this choir that he's in, and you just go, oh shit, okay. And it's really hard to watch the show at points, but does a good job of having the jokes land and having the show be so funny that you are able to push through those parts where it does get a little more intense than you might expect. There is this there's this line Jen drops episode 1 where she's in the circle with everyone, and she talks about how she's not sleeping. She's tired, and she talks about how she hasn't been sleeping and she doesn't want to be one of those parents, one of those Xanax zombie moms. And it cuts this lady right next to her that's clearly on medication, and she just looks at her like what the hell. And it's such an uncomfortable moment, but it is played for a laugh, and the show does a very good job of having those sort of jokes where you could take it as, oh, that's really uncomfortable, but you could still get a chuckle out of it. And that's something that I think, for myself, speaking for myself, with grieving, that really does help. It's finding the humor in it, and being able to look back on that person with a fondness. It really does help. What I love, too, about this show is that as the show continues to go ahead and just kind of, unveil more and more and more, you see Jin's psyche slowly start to change. She's not a bad person, but she's just been dealt this really shit hand. You find out that Ted was cheating on her, and you find out the fight they had the night he got hit, and it hurts your heart, because it's one of those arguments that you have in the moment and you don't even think about the fact that it could be the last time you see that person. And the show does a great job of really addressing those consequences of you saying something that, again, you think you'll have a chance to apologize for, but unfortunately you don't. And Jin has this whole there's a detective in the show, directed by Anna Perez, who's played by Diana Maria Riva, who is excellent. She talks about how Jin is basically a white wine vigilante, and how she's always out trying to figure out who killed her husband, to the point that she's in the car with Judy and pulls off the side of the road to go ahead and write down the license plate of this car that had damage to the front of the car. Jen even says that any sort of a body dent, or what looks like it would be a body dent in a car, she writes down the license plate. And Judy even asks her if it makes her feel better, and she says, no, not really. And you realize in that moment that she wants to be doing something besides sitting at home waiting for the cops to go ahead and to go ahead and figure this out. I want to move on to Judy, because Judy, again, Linda Cardellini, my heart, Mrs. Barton. I have already expressed my love for Linda Cardellini. Judy is such a complicated character because she's an artist. She's definitely a spiritual person, and I like the way they didn't make her religious, because they could have very easily gone that route and had her be, like a diehard Christian, and then, she converts Jen to Jesus. Like, they could have definitely gone that route, and thankfully they didn't. They leave her spirituality just as that, just spirituality. She believes in, the earth and just being good to people, which at the end of the day, people, doesn't really matter what religion you are, that should be your main focus at the end of the day, except Scientology. That's just nuts. But I love the fact they go ahead and they didn't give her like a hard line as far as what she believes in. I really appreciate that. But Judy, her relationship with Steve, played by James Marsden, which Can we, Donut Lord himself, so first off, can we just take a second and appreciate James Marsden? He was great in Enchanted. I don't think people bring up Enchanted enough. I think that's one of the most underrated Disney films ever. He was amazing in Hairspray. If you have not seen Hairspray, you should. It's really fucking great. And then, of course, on Westworld, I thought he was... I think he's fucking excellent on that show. And that's before I even get to him being fucking Cyclops. James Marsden is so fucking good in this show, and him and Linda Cardellini have such great chemistry. What's so beautifully tragic about their relationship is that this show shows, there you go, that abuse doesn't just have to be physical. And Steve is a very handsome man. He's successful, and the show does a very good job of Judy being in these moments where she's emotionally vulnerable. And there's this point where Judy's talking to Steve about a very sensitive issue, and he goes like, "Don't be stupid." And she's like, "Don't call me stupid." And he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, baby." And she goes, "Okay." And he played off like a joke, but it's the very first hint of how dark his character truly is and how genuinely shitty of a person he actually is. And the show plays that up so fucking masterfully. Like, it's so well done. So that by the time you get to the end of the season and all the dominoes and everything's closing in as we kind of get to the climax of the season, it's so well handled, and James Marsden's able to flip that switch from charming, handsome, kind of socialite to vindictive douchebag, and the way he flips the switch is just mwah. It's so fucking well done. I absolutely loved his character. There is a scene early-ish on where Judy goes ahead and is talking with Charlie about pizza because Judy gets invited to move into Jen's house, and Charlie is very like, "Why is this bitch here?" and very not trusting. Judy ends up staying in Ted's kind of his music studio. That was like a little beach house on the side of or little sub house there on the side of the house. And I love the way they play that because Judy's not like, her stuff is there, but she's not sleeping there because she even says Ted had a lot of shit in there. And you can see where this is going from a mile away, but it does force Jen to go ahead and really confront, Ted in that way, as far as, being able to look at his stuff. There's this scene where she takes a sip of some water that he had, and you see her just lip quiver. And that is one thing I will say, Linda Cardellini and Christina Applegate both have to cry a lot. And oh my god, when they cry, it just hurts your soul to see them cry. And there's a scene, you'll know it when you get there. I want to say it's the episode before the last episode where Judy and Jen have this conversation by the pool, and it is just such a it hurts you. It hurts you how intense and how raw that whole conversation is. It's just it's so hurtful, but it's so brilliantly played. Ted's mother, Lorna, holy crap! You want to talk about a villain in this show? She's one of the worst people I've seen on a TV show in a while. I thought she was fucking terrible. They flash back to the funeral where she goes, like, "Oh my god, my Ted, my teddy bear, my baby boy," and I'm just like, "Oh my god, bitch, it's not about you. Like, calm the fuck down." And it's in an episode, I want to say it's episode 3 or 4, where Henry has gone ahead and projected, he thinks this bird that visits him on his windowsill each morning is his dad. And I thought that the way they handled that episode and that whole subplot, it's really well done. And the wrap up to the bird subplot is a surprisingly dark one, but I appreciate where it went. There is a scene where Jen is trying to talk to the bird, and the bird just flies away, and she goes, "Oh, whatever, fuck you too." And that was the hardest laughs I got all season. I know we typically go through spoilers, guys, but to be honest, I'm trying real. I don't want to spoil this for you guys. This is one of those shows. Alea and I started watching this. I won't say last Monday, and we got through it. We got through the first season in about 4 days, and it was great because Alea goes, "Oh my god, what the hell? Like, what happens next? Like, where's the second season? Is there a second season?" I was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "It premieres right now," because we finished it Thursday night, like at 12:20, right when the new season had dropped, and so we went right in and we watched the first episode and got through that by the weekend. I have true, genuine admiration for this show. This was written, and the show is written and created by Liz Feldman, which is fucking weird because she was a writer for the Ellen DeGeneres show, which I had no idea. She wrote for Two Broke Girls, which if you guys have listened to the podcast for a while, you know I think Two Broke Girls is I'll be nice and say clown shoes. I think it's a terrible show. And she wrote for Blue Collar TV, which is another miss in my book. So the fact that she wrote this show that I just fucking adore so much, I give her so much credit. I think this first season is one of my favorite first seasons of a TV show I've seen in a while. It's engaging. It's heartbreaking. The score to the music is great. And where this season ends off, you're going to want to go ahead and get into the second season immediately. This is prime writing. This is just how you do it. And yeah, a huge credit to everyone who's associated with the show. Last character I did want to mention real quick was oh gosh, I can't find his name. Max Jenkins. He plays Christopher Doyle, who is Jen's like real estate partner, and they have this scene where he talks about why he needs to basically stop working with her. And it's such a heartbreaking scene, but it's so well done. And from his perspective, you totally get it. I thought that scene in particular was great. There is a little subplot with this character, Nick Prager, who's played by Brandon Scott. I thought he was excellent. I hadn't seen him in anything before, but him and Linda Cardellini and him and Christina Applegate have really great chemistry. I thought he was just wonderful. I was so happy to see him get some shine. So I'm really excited to see what Brandon Scott does moving forward. But yeah, guys, this is an absolute must watch. As far as a complaint, because I'm sitting here and I realize I've just been singing the show's praises, I really don't have any. Like, because I mean, now granted, if I had watched this a couple years ago and I had to wait for the second season, that'd probably be my biggest complaint, that, oh, fuck, I have to wait to see what happens next. But I thought this was just so well done. And if you're going to talk about grief and talk about death, you don't sugarcoat it. And the reason that Jen reveals about Ted's cheating, it's a very selfish reason. And again, when Christina Applegate has to break down, Linda Cardellini, she does her fair share of crying, but Christina Applegate is hitting just this emotional core when she's doing it, because she is talking about her husband her husband who passed. And there's just such a rawness to her performance that I really fucking appreciated. I hope you guys discover this show. If you haven't watched it, you should. I can't think of a complaint, but I'm gonna give this an A. And I'll explain why when I review season 2. But guys, Dead to Me, have you watched season 1? Are you caught up? They have not confirmed the season 3, so I'm really hoping, because where season 2 ends, there needs to be a third season. So, but yeah, don't Luke Cage this shit. But guys, Dead to Me, have you guys seen it? Let us know what you thought in the comments. You can go ahead and like us on Facebook at The Real Pineapple. Go ahead and follow yours truly on the Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. You can follow Scott on Twitter at NearmanTheFirst. And you can follow Colin on Twitter at The Real, that's REEL O'Neill. And go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. You can find us on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, and iHeartRadio at The Real Pineapple. Guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll have a review up this weekend for Dead to Me Season 2, as well as a review for Chronicle. I'm starting to get into, and if you guys haven't been listening, or if it's your first time, next month, the month of June, is going to be, since it is my birthday month, woo! Most of the stuff from next month is going to be primarily stuff that I enjoy, that we haven't had a chance to review for the podcast yet. So one thing I will say, we are reviewing Training Day, and we'll be reviewing the original Avengers, because we have not reviewed that somehow. But we have lots of stuff coming up for you guys. Thank you so much for your support, and we will talk to you guys soon. You guys take care.